This
point
conference will
because I
now
had
be
actually
recorded.
forgotten to record it from here. But so here we go. This is the anatomy of the TriBall. And next step, of course, is how does this relate? What do all the different things mean? Now, if you look at this IronCAD USA, that was a series of 3D models, obviously, and all of these were put into position, as you can see on the screen. All of these were put into position using the TriBall. So it's a very powerful tool for positioning. But let's actually talk about, what we can do with it. And, I want to get right into a presentation on the product. So there are a series of webinars that we've done that are, really making your design life easy. And so the first one is on feature modeling. So I'm going to jump straight in. Every single one of these webinars are available on IronCADUSA.com. You could watch them at your convenience to learn more about the product. I will now jump directly into IronCAD because that lets me show you what I'm talking about in terms of how the TriBall can really help you. And so I'm going to start out, as you can see, this is a finished part, but rather than finish this assembly, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say, nope, pick everything. And I'm going to say, I really don't want this. I'm going to delete it. We're going to start over again. So you can see that's where we want it to start. But let's just begin by dropping a cylinder into this scene, as you can see. And if anyone's wondering how I'm moving, I have an actual 3D mouse that I use. It's just an old habit. And I'm just going to make this thing. How big do I want it to be? Well, I want this to be exactly an 8-inch plate. And there's my 8-inch plate that I'm creating. No use of the TriBall yet. But let me start out by saying, well, I want to place another cylinder on the front of this. And of course, I can drag that cylinder out and drop it. And as I go along, I'm going to be showing you some clever ideas, also some advanced features that are really kind of neat. So I just dragged this feature out and I dropped it and it became part of this part. Well, if I wanted to actually locate it after I dropped it, here's something really neat that I'm going to introduce you to. And I'm just going to, this is in our catalog system, but because the TriBall is so very, very useful, I'm going to actually say with this cylinder, whenever I use this particular cylinder from the catalog, I want it to automatically activate the TriBall, and it just did that. So that's kind of an advanced feature, and I can do that for anything that I have in any of these geometry libraries. Anytime I have something in a geometry library, I can say, I want you to attach the TriBall. Why would I want to do that? Well, as you have already seen and thought, this is our method of controlling geometry. So here I have, I have something that can pull geometry. So I'm moving it into a new position. I can push geometry. I can actually move geometry in 2D space. And you'll notice what's happening now. It's showing a distance, how far it's going from a particular point. So I'm using these handles to move this piece of geometry around the screen. But what I really want to do is locate it precisely at the center here. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to come here, and there's a number of different ways of doing this. One way is I can use the intelligence that's built into IronCAD to say, well, can I place it at there's a quadrant point. But if I wait a second, I just found something. There's an actual point here, and it will snap to that. So I located the center. But what if I don't know the center's actually there? Well, right click, move this to the center point of this circle. And so now it's placed it directly on that location. Excellent. When I'm done with that, I can use either an F10 key, which will turn the TriBall on and off. So, you can see hit F10, turn it on and off this way. Or I can hunt and peck through the keyboard. But personally, folks, what I love to do is I put it right on my mouse. I mean, to be able to get lots of capability. I have a really cool high-lit Razer mouse that looks so neat and lights up, and it lets me have lots of extra buttons. So I put the TriBall right on there. And as I'm working, by the way, I don't know how many of you, I use glasses, so things are sometimes, as I got older, hard to see. So take a look at what I'm going to do now. I'm just out in the middle of space, and this is all information about the TriBall. Gosh, what might I want to do? Move the shape, position the TriBall. No, I want to change the size, because instead of it being a small TriBall, I'd like to be medium. Or even better, because this is a webinar on a TriBall, make it large. So now no matter what happens, the TriBall is the chief thing that I'm using on the screen and allowing me to move this part around and get it into any location I want. Here's kind of a neat idea. I'm going to show you something now. Imagine for a moment, I'd like to move this to the middle of this plane, as you can see, but I can't actually get at it. So I could always do something like this where I say, I want to locate this at the center point of this circle. Oh dear, it dropped it back over here. I didn't want to drop it back over there. I wanted it to stay on the front face. Easy way to do that? Say, hey, you're only allowed to move in 2 dimensions. So I've highlighted that front plane and said, you're only allowed to move in that. And if you notice, if I take the right mouse button and move now, it's moving at a location from here. So it's not allowed to move in the Z-axis, if you will. But now I can use that same thing where I say lock and find a center point of this back circle. But because it's limited to move in 2 dimensions, as I said, it has to stay on the front. So there's lots of reasons and lots of tools you can use. Let's make this a little larger. 2 by 2. Good. This is my little front frustrum on this thing, and now I've added it to the part. What else can we do? Well, let's drill a hole. And I'm going to simply come in here and say, what kind of hole do I want? Well, I'm going to go, I like to show you lots of interesting things about IronCAD. So let's go and grab a custom hole from a catalog, the tools catalog. And here we bring up a widget that says, well, what kind of custom hole would you like? I want to be able to have, yep, I'm an inch, so I want an imperial or an English hole, and I want it to be a 1/2 inch. And yep, it's going to be simple. And, but I do want it to be threaded, so it's going to be a 1/2 inch. I think I want it to be like a 1/2 inch 13. Oh, I said quarter. Let's make it half. And let's now make it a 1/2 inch 13 UNC. The hole depth, oh gosh, I don't know, make it, yeah, you know what, make it 1 inch. No big deal. And now what I've done is I've created a very simple threaded hole in this part. But I don't really want that threaded hole in the middle. Really what I want to be able to do is I want to be able to grab that hole and here's a neat thing. You'll notice it's picking the part, it's picking the, well, did you know I can actually go and with that alt pick, get right down to that feature, and I'm going right down to the feature. So another way to do that is to say, you know what, here it is. I want to move that. So I highlight it from the tree and turn on my TriBall, and now move this TriBall all the way out along this line until you hit the outside edge. Oh, hit the outside edge. Now I've got a very difficult to drill hole, but the reason I did that, it snapped out there. I wanted to just push it back a 1/2 inch from the outside edge. So now I know it's exactly 1/2 inch from there, and I've repositioned my tapped hole to the outside, 1/2 inch from the outside. Well, what else can I do with the TriBall? Here's a really good thing. I don't want to position the TriBall anymore. What I want to use it for is to create geometry, okay? So instead of coming up here, and this is what's really clever, instead of having to search through features, where's my move, where's the pattern, how do I find this, where's this control for copying and mirroring, it's all here. Remember, if I go back to the presentation, it's my heads-up display. So rather than hunting and pecking through an interface, I'm simply using the TriBall to say, you know what, unlock this, bring this TriBall in and now use the spacebar, unlock it and locate it now because it's a geometry creation device. Locate it at the center, lock it into position and watch this cool trick. Now, I've highlighted that center axis, so it's going to move in a circular motion around the center of rotation. And now I'm using the right mouse button. Why? Because anytime in IronCAD that I use the right mouse button, it will automatically bring up a menu. So here, what am I going to do? This time, I'm going to create a radial pattern. How many bolt holes do I need 12. What's the angle? I have no idea. And so in all of these dialog boxes, I can go just take 360 divided by 12, work it out for me. And now I've actually used that wonderful TriBall to create this bolt pattern. So as you can see, I'm using the TriBall to do, and you know what? Let's look at something else. What would happen if I wanted the exact copy of this part? Let's give it a name. I'm going to click on it, say this is my wheel cover or something. So what happens now? Turn on the TriBall, and let's actually use the inner handles to create something entirely different. I'd like you to come in here, and I want you to create a mirror, a linked copy of this geometry. So now what I've done is I've got two of these. I've got one back to back with the other one. And of course, by the way, any changes, I'm just showing this to you so we can have some fun together. Double click on this. No, I need 16 holes. So, you know, what is the angle? Don't remember. 360 divided by 16. Go ahead, make that change. And now if you'll notice, I have 16 on the front, and because it's a linked copy of 16 on the back. So there's just using the TriBall, and not once, folks, in all of the work that I had to do to create the geometry that I'm creating, not once did you see me go to the top and look for, gosh, how do I find, you know, I've simply gone, bring in a hole. I'm simply working with shapes and the TriBall. So that's the first in the example of what I want to show you, how the TriBall works. And that's actually just feature modeling. And there's lots of different things that we can do. Well, I've said, in addition to feature modeling, what are some of the other things we can do? And by the way, I'll come back and say, these webinars that you're looking at, everything that I'm creating is done for you already. So if you go to the IronCADUSA.com webinar site, everything that I'm doing, including today's session, is recorded and will be available for you to replay and look at again. So that's feature modeling.
Bobby, can I interrupt you?
Yeah.
Several times you got the TriBall up, but I didn't see how you got it up. You got it up by magic, it appeared. How do you get the TriBall up the easiest way, and how do you get rid of it the easiest way?
Gotcha. So great question. Let me bring up the product again now. The easiest way to bring it up is, and who was that again talking with me?
Mike.
Oh, hi, Mike. Okay, yeah. Mike, the easiest way to do this is depending on what you're pointing at. So the first thing I point at is a part. If I point again, it goes down into the IntelliShape. And
Yep.
we can move any of these with the TriBall, but let's start out with a part. I highlight a part, and the non-easy way from my perspective is to go up here and locate the TriBall up here. Can you see that?
Yep.
That's the non-easy way, because the fact is, if I'm in a different menu, I have to search for it, and I don't like that. In the tools menu, gosh, oh, it's all the way over here. So I don't want to have to search for the TriBall, Mike. It doesn't make sense for me. I'm busy working. So instead of searching for it, it's on the F10 key, and F10 is a toggle key. So what I'm doing right now is I'm actually using the F10 to put it on. But if you're an advanced user, Mike, let me just show you something that I think is even cooler than that, okay? And I'm gonna turn on my camera because I have no other way of showing this to you other than, you're looking in the screen. Now, if you look, you can see my fancy mouse. Can everybody see that okay?
Yep.
And it's all lit up and it's doing all these colorful, beautiful things. And these mice cost really, if you get it without all the beautiful color effects, They don't cost much money at all. You can get a mouse like this for 40 bucks. But here's why it will save you an enormous amount of time. On the side of my mouse, there are 2 extra buttons, okay? There's a, and I can, at any time, I can take these 2 buttons and change them. And what I've done, all right, is I've created the F10 key linked to this button and the space key linked to this button. And here's why that's, Mike, that this is really appreciate your question. This is why it's incredibly useful. Because as I'm working with geometry, and it can be any kind of geometry at all, and if we come into something a little more complex, if I am here and I want to turn it on, I want to be looking right here, and I don't want to move my mouse. I don't even want to move my hands. So there's the TriBall. I bring it up with my mouse and turn it off.
I like that.
It's really cool. And the other reason it's really cool is I'm sitting working on this little component right here, and I noticed that the TriBall is way the heck over here, and I don't know why. All right, it's way over there. And because it's way over there, there's some really neat features that you can implement right now, and that's why I want to show this to you, Mike. So what do I want to do? Take that TriBall back to the anchor. Notice it didn't move anything. I just said, I don't know how you got all the way out there, but I want you to be right where I'm looking. And now I'm going to just take this part and I'm just pulling this screw out of the part. Right. And now that I'm done that work, move it up 30 mil exact. Now that I've done that work, I'm going to turn the TriBall off. And I can go to work on something else because I'm going to come up here and now I'm going to work on this. Okay. And this gives me the ability, and I'm just working with absolute impunity with this kind of stuff, concentrating only on the geometry that I'm looking at here and being able to come in and say, okay, and you'll notice, Mike, turn it off. Come into this part right there, turn it back on again. Come on, baby, where? Oh, and look, I don't even know where the TriBall is right now. It's somewhere. Reset it to the anchor of this part because I don't know where it was on the screen, and now I'm dragging this part out as well. So as you can see, that having it on your mouse is really a very, very powerful tool.
Yeah, that menu that you're bringing up, is that a right click?
That's a right mouse click. Okay. And it's different, and I really appreciate the questions, and anyone, you just shout out at me if you want to ask questions. That right mouse click, it's really important where your mouse is, okay? So at the moment, I'm floating in space. And I can bring this up, which says, what do I want to do with the TriBall? Because we're in TriBall mode. And hey, folks, quick warning. When you're in TriBall mode, you can't do other stuff. And I think that's what Mike was referring to. Like, Bobby, I forgot I was in, and I'm trying to do something else. And and sometimes it'll interrupt you and it won't let you do anything else. And why? Because you're in a positioning mode. So you got to be able to turn that off easily. If you forget, F10 turns it on and off. And as I say, on my mouse, it's really easy that way. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay. Now, one last thing about these menus. All of the different things that I'm creating here, make it a large TriBall, things like this, medium, things like this, make the style the original, because the original was very thin. Can you see that? You can't really see it as well. And then the new one is a little bit more stylized, if you will, and easier to see. All right. So now assembly design. And I'm glad I'm in that particular part now because it lets me show you that this is one of the things that really helps in productivity is using the TriBall to actually create an assembly like the one you see here. Now, by the way, the words I want to now pick in a box and I'm moving my mouse to pick in a box, it's not letting me. Why? Because the TriBall's turned on. So now I just turn the TriBall off, select everything, hit the delete key, and I'm ready to start over again. In fact, I don't want you at all. Delete everything in here. I'm just going to start this file, as you can see, and I also don't want a second here, so I'm going to get rid of it. So let's look at this marvelous tool for actually creating parts. Now, I don't know if anyone knows this, but when you take a part out of a catalog and drop it, does anyone know where it drops? It drops directly on 000. So if there's a TriBall here, that anchor would have dropped if I look at the position. If it was the first thing that you placed, obviously this one wasn't because I just deleted that old, but here's a quick way to say, just move that into a 000 position. So it's actually on a datum. But this idea of being able to pick up this part, oh, and other people are seeing me rotate things. I'll turn my camera on again because I've been asked this question before. Just so you could see, I also work with a fancy schmancy space pilot. These are a little bit expensive, but there's inexpensive. This is a great way to work with the product, by the way, because in fact, I worked with a space pilot in my left and the mouse in my right hand. And what that does, it means I've got all of the tools that I need to create geometry at my fingertips. I'm really never taking my eyes off the screen for the geometry at hand. So now if I want to, start creating an assembly, here's a neat idea. I don't move into an assembly mode in a single model environment. I just say, okay, drop a bracket out here. All right, there's the bracket, and gosh, oh, there's the TriBall. TriBall's floating out in space. And whoever built this, Joe, thanks a lot. He didn't even put, this is not located at the origin where I need it. Let me see if I can put it back. All right, put that back to the anchor of the part. Well, that's where the anchor is, but I don't really want it there because I need to locate it, from the front edge. So back to that question of an easy way to turn it on and off, because both of my hands are busy. I've got a Mutt button on my mouse that says free up the TriBall and move it. And I can now pick it up and move it to any location on this part. Why is that useful? Watch this. I moved it there and locked it, picked this up and put it right here in this vertex right there. Bang. No need for mating, no need for anything. I've simply used this and put it into a position. Now, do I want to grab a second bracket and put it here? No, I'm going to use this bracket and the TriBall because they're exactly the same. Watch this. Unlink, pick up the TriBall and move it to an edge. And if I touch an edge, by the way, it'll always go to the center. Really useful to know that, by the way. There's the middle of my part. Now I'm going to use the TriBall to say, give me a mirrored linked copy on the other side. Cool. So I turn the TriBall off. And by the way, anything that I do on one side is going to be replicated on the other side. So if I make changes to this model, if I were to come in here and say, gosh, I want this to be a little bit bigger, it's actually changed it on the other side as well. So that's kind of neat, just showing that idea. And I can go on and, let me come in here and go ahead, put the TriBall. Wonderful. Do I need, yep, I'm just dragging and dropping. Excellent. Put this shaft in. Where do I want the shaft to go? Find that center location. No. Oh gosh, I need to move that into a location, but I don't know exactly where. Well, here's some clever tricks. I want to lock this so it cannot move. It can rotate all at once. I don't care, but it can't move in any direction other than along that line. So now pick this up and move it along to the center point of this. And I've now positioned that directly into this part. So creating assemblies is really kind of a new way to work with this geometry. Here's another point that people often ask me, and I'll ask my own questions. What if the geometry isn't mine? What if it what if it comes from elsewhere? Well, let's take a look at that. The TriBall is still useful. I'm going to go straight into trace parts here. And I'm going to do it live so you all can see it. And I'm going to grab a handle. I'm going to go to the mechanical lobe. This is an online library, and go ahead, grab a handle. And let's look at a hand wheel. What have we got? I've never actually downloaded a hand wheel. That's kind of neat. Ooh, a 3-arm hand wheel. Those are, oh, here, a little 4-arm hand wheel made out of plastic. I'm gonna see what this looks like. Cool. Download this. I know nothing about this geometry, folks. Really, I know nothing about it. It's third party. I don't know if it was designed in SolidWorks, in CATIA, I don't know where it was designed. All I know is go ahead, show me this file, and I'm going to bring it on the screen just so you can see what I've got. It downloaded a zip file for me. And what I'm going to do is extract that right here. And as I said a moment ago, I've never seen this. And here's the file it just extracted. Drop it into IronCAD. So there's my little part, whatever it may be. It's, you know, who knows? And this was some little guy. Well, you know, I'm going to take this part, whatever it is, drop it in here, and then go back to this base that we're designing and say, what happens if I pull this out? Oh, there's my part. This is the hand wheel. And now what do I want to do? Allows me to show you some kind of neat things. I want this to be set up so that this handle is directly opposite that, like that. Now, I don't know if anyone watched what I just did, but it was kind of neat. So I'll show that again, and this is sort of an advanced function that I just used. Because this is sitting there, you see this front face. I need that front face perpendicular to this. So I can actually pick on the inner handle and say, gee, I want this perpendicular to this face. And see what it did, right? It just picks it up and make it perpendicular. For those of you who are advanced, because I want to show advanced tools as well, you could just do this. I'm going to highlight that little handle, the one that I right-clicked, left-click on it, and just touch the face that it's supposed to be perpendicular to. Super fast way of working, okay? And now what do I want to do? So I just want to take this part, put it to the center point here, and now I've added a marvelous handle to my design, which is kind of silly, but you know, that's the idea. I just took it out of a catalog, and we're actually using the TriBall. And that's the true test. I know nothing about this geometry. It's very similar to the other. This morning I was just looking at it, and I grabbed a different handle and did the same thing where I said, I want this perpendicular. Ooh, went the wrong way. Folks, just right click and say reverse. All right, so I really have tremendous power with this tool, and not once am I sitting here and going, how do I move this? It's all, I'm doing everything as if I were a pilot. Move this around to the other side. So I'm using it also for mechanical design. So you can see, putting things together, and not once have I gone into an assembly modeling. I'm going to do it right now to show y'all. I'm going into the assembly modeling mode here. Not once have you seen me go into positioning where I had to actually do constraints on this. I'm putting this assembly together without doing any constraints, only using the TriBall. So that's a really exciting trick to be able to convey this idea that I can do assembly modeling with that as well. But it's not just limited to IronCAD or SolidWorks parts or dumb, you know, whatever geometry. I can also use it to do really interesting cut and paste. And so I'm going to show you an example of that right now. And let me just see if I can remember where I was. This is a typical, this is one of our webinars we did. Any questions from anybody? Because I'll stop right away if you need questions. Let me just see. I'm going to mute you for a second, Matt. Let me just get this muted for a moment. There you are. So I need to do cutouts because what I want to be able to do, I think I need actually to fit these plates. I've shown this in a different webinar in the front of this enclosure right here. How do we do that? Well, with the TriBall. I'm going to come into this part, and I'm in a separate part here. And what am I going to do? Well, you know, I'm going to come in here and make a sketch. I want to do a sketch on this shape right here. Where am I? Hey, don't argue with me. Come here. I want to do a sketch on this front plate right there. Good. That's the sketch I want to do. And show me the part. Why? Here's the part, because what I really want to do is I want to come in and I want to project everything that's on this front face. Sorry, folks, I just need to go in a little. I want you to project all that geometry and hide. Oh, so that's what I want to borrow from this part. I need to borrow that. So, you know, I don't need this. Come in here. You know what? You I don't need. You can go away. Oop, undo that. Oop, too much. I need you. I don't need that. I don't need this line. I'm only going to take the geometry I actually need. And personally, I know that I don't need all of this stuff. So let's come on over here. What else don't I need? I actually know in a box, all of this is too much. And there's one more. I only need 3 of these. Good. I'm done with that. I'm sketching in this other part. Well, there's the 2D profile. Grab that. I want to copy it, go back into this enclosure, and then say, you know what? Whatever this was, I need to paste what I just did there. It's pasted from an entirely different file. And rather than go into the details of this, I'm just going to come in here and do the same thing. I want I want this to be that way. Notice I just did it with one click. Good. And I'm going to take this, and folks, just be a little patient. I'm going to just say, place this on that face. I can be very exact about how I'm doing it, but I'm really just showing you a neat idea. What can I do with a 2D sketch? Well, I've borrowed that sketch. I can create an extrusion that's going to cut through this part right here on the front plate, and go ahead and do that. And I've now used the TriBall to cut and paste a sketch from another part into here. So we're actually, any geometry can be taken and placed and moved around using the TriBall. All right, so that's that idea. And then before I overstay my welcome, let me show you one last thing, which I think is really cool, and that's using the TriBall for direct editing. And I've got another great example of that here. This was my silly personal stereo that I created, okay? And that was done using, and this webinar is also available, and what's kind of neat about this is that it's got some pretty great capabilities. It was actually created, folks, using some very simple shapes. But let's take a look at what we can do on this part. Well, I'm working on it right now. I want you to come into this face right there. So I'm on that face, turn on the TriBall, there it is. And now I don't really like the angle, so I'm gonna come in here and I want you to just move this a good 10 degrees this way and go ahead. And I'm noticed changing entirely how this is working. I want this face, again with the TriBall, I'm gonna tilt that one back a little bit. And let's see if I can, nicely done, this is beautiful. What else can I do? So I'm actually direct editing on this part, and you may say to me, Bobby, that part is yours. You own that, you created it. So of course you should be able to do that. Well, but what if it's a part that I don't own? What if it's something that's an entire dumb solid? It's got no information in it other than BREP, a binary representation of a surface. That's all it is, a bunch of surfaces. Well, same holds true. I know it's a bunch of surfaces. What I'm going to do is make changes on those by simply saying, I only want to select on a face. In a box, pick all of this, including the outside, and let's make sure we get the inside face as well. Good. How am I going to move that? No, I'm not going to search up here for commands. I'm going to simply bring up the TriBall. It's in the wrong position. So what am I going to do? Unlock it with the space bar, right click on this and say move this to a center point here. And now simply take this around the center. I need it 45 degrees over here because they've said we need to move this thing, and go ahead and move it all. And now what it's done, pretty magical, by the way. It moved all of this geometry from where it was and rebuilt all the whole geometry on the inside. So you see kind of a neat capability on something that had nothing to do with me. This is not my geometry. I simply used a TriBall to move this set of faces from here to here, and notice that it rebuilt everything and did the proper holes. So it's really kind of a neat modeling tool. But if I go back to the thing that I was working on, oh no, I mean my personal stereo. Last thing I want to show you about the TriBall is let's create an assembly of all of this and just say create an assembly, call it my personal stereo. And now let's use the TriBall to create a 4-speaker system. Well, this is actually in the wrong place. So what am I going to do? I want to lock it until it finds hey, you, don't argue with me. I want this to be able to move, unlock it to right the top there, lock it again, use this mouse button to say, create a linked copy of the whole assembly. So now I have a top and a bottom. I've got a 4-speaker system, kind of neat. And what's of course magnificent about everything that I'm working on, any of the changes that I make with the TriBall to the top, of course, are going to be reflected. Like, you know, I really do want this to face the front a little more. Let me see how it does that. Beautiful. And notice that everything in the bottom is, no, undo that. I didn't like the way it interrupted something here. Maybe, but you're getting my drift. You're seeing what I'm trying to do. I'm able to change things, and it's really kind of a fun technology. And there you go. And at any point, if I want to slice through this, by the way, I saw a question on the forum the other day, said nothing to do with the TriBall, but it lets me show you all something really neat, and that is our sectioning capability. So I'm going to take this and just create it and say this is one big assembly. Okay, my crazy boombox. So there it is. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to highlight the whole assembly, and what I'd like to do is section through it. But I want to section it based on parallel to a face, maybe something like that. Let me do that. And which face? Well, let's just go through the front. Now, nothing's happened. Why? Well, because we're not moving it yet. Let's move it with the TriBall. And what I'm actually going to do is slice through this part, as you can see now, because I'm able to very easily use the TriBall to go through this part and say, how well have I built it? How are things working? And at any point, guys, this to me is the amazing part of it. At any point, of course, I can pick the TriBall up and use it to do some pretty magnificent things like this. So now I'm, chopping through this assembly this way, and I'm being very sloppy about how I do it. But you all can see that I can really analyze what's going on very easily with this magnificent tool. It really is something that, I work in a lot of different CAD systems, and it just makes my life really easy to do this kind of work. So let me go back to this. I hope you're enjoying what you're seeing. I've shown you an example, pardon me, of how we can use the TriBall for feature modeling, assembly design, cut and paste modeling, where I grabbed the sketch and used it, and also direct editing. I've shown you some things, and there's some we're doing some training tomorrow as well. There's a 3-hour training class that we're running tomorrow where we're going to go into some advanced features of the TriBall as well. But, this is why we really believe it can increase your design productivity. It increases your flexibility. And I really mean this, because what the TriBall does in this area right here, the TriBall is effective for editing models imported from different systems. And I've shown you today a couple of different things that I did, which were kind of neat. And I want you to understand, and it's important to me that you get that a lot of what I've worked on is not geometry that was created in IronCAD. It was geometry that was brought in somewhere else. This handle, as an example, is something that, no, I didn't create this inside of IronCAD. It was created in a different product, but I still have the ability to make changes to it at any time, and be able to come in here and say, I want this to, and I don't know, I'm being crazy now, but who knows what'll happen there. So I'm making changes on the fly to geometry that comes from anywhere. So that's, really important to me and increases my flexibility. I can work with anything. It increases my productivity and really improves it because I haven't shown you that. I'm actually going to show that tomorrow, where you can use it to create animation paths, cable and wire runs, inserting tubing and piping, great examples. And here's something that's really neat. If I pick up somebody's design that was kind of garbage and it has history problems or parametric, I don't care. I can just direct edit and change it and make it the way I want. And finally, improving the ease of use. In all the other products I've ever used, I needed to have a plane. And this was a big deal. I needed to have datum planes in order to make things position. Not with the TriBall. The need for a plane is entirely eliminated. So this is your IronCAD USA team. You're welcome to get in touch with any of us. We're doing a number of these webinars throughout the next few months. You've got some great expertise here. Joe is very knowledgeable in the system and will happily answer any of your questions, as will Matt, as will Igor, and the folks at IronCAD in Atlanta as well. It's been my pleasure to show this to you. This is our webinar series. This, by the way, is the 5th in our series. And as I mentioned before, if you all want to go online and find our webinars, here they are on the IronCAD USA site. The one that we've done today will be posted by tonight, so you can take a look at that. And I'll open this up for any questions that you might have right now. But in the meantime, it has been my absolute privilege and pleasure to show you this incredible TriBall. But go ahead, I'll open it all up, and if there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer those right now. Hey, Joe, did I miss anything that you wanted to see? Or Igor, or Matt, everything cool with you guys?
Yep.
I had a quick question.
Sure.
How did you how did you connect the TriBall to your mouse pad?
Say that again, please.
How did you connect the TriBall to your mouse?
This is Matthew, right?
Yes.
It's really, really easy. I want to show you something here if I can. I was working on a, let me just see if I can open this up for tomorrow. Where is just looking at something. See if I can find it. Gosh. I had a presentation. Well, you know what? I'm going to be lazy. I'm going to go right. If you'll forgive me, I'm going to show you the picture right now, rather than drive you crazy. Bear with me for a moment. I just want to find it so you can see it. And I apologize for anyone looking at some of these ugly pictures. Here, this one. So there are, as you well know, there are hotkeys. And this reminds me. So the F10 key, as you know, the F10 key is what we use. So all I did was bind F10. And I did that because on my, I've never tried that, but I'm going to try that because Mike asked me. Mike, I don't know. Oh, I didn't know that on your keyboard, Q turns the TriBall on and off.
Well,
okay.
That's convenient because it's over on the left.
Yeah. It's right over there. And by the way, I like that picture that I was just showing you all, and I'll come back to your question. I promised to answer that, Matthew, question. But this, so the TriBall, there's some really neat, the right top front ISO. See, right top front ISO. This is something I know a lot of people may not know, is that if I'm in a scene and I go the right view, the top view, front view, the isometric view, turn the TriBall on and off, double click with your mouse. Those are some really, top, let me see this from the top, front.
No, double click with your mouse too.
Oh, okay, if say for example, I'm all the way over here and I'm lost. The hell is it? A double click with the middle mouse button
Okay.
brings this into the middle of the scene. If I hit ISO, middle click, it'll see that top, middle click, it fits, you know, and turning the TriBall on and off that way. So those are some of the hotkeys that are kind of neat. And now coming back to your question again, because I do like to answer these things. I have a Razer mouse, and so let me just see if I can launch this. It can be here. Yeah, it lets me do. And you're just looking at this right now. I set it up so that if I look at my button, see what's happened here?
Yeah.
I can just set this and I rebind the key to F10. That's all I did. And then, you know, save that. And I this one, and any of these mice you get, anything that you buy will normally come with this type of program. I rebound that key to the space key, as simple as that. And you got that, Matt? Matthew?
Yeah, yes, I can see it now. Okay.
Okay. And that made it really, really easy to work with the product. Okay?
What model is that mouse? Do you know?
I think it's the Mamba. You know, I can tell you, but it's about, I think it's a Razer Mamba Elite. But
Okay.
wow, coolest! It is super high speed, and it's like anything else, it's built for.
It's a gamer mouse, so yeah, I know that.
Yeah. But you know what I'm getting at is I'm using it because that's what I do. And the other thing that you need to know is that the other thing I'm working with, just to show you, is, let me bring up my menu if I remember how to do that. I work with the you see it, I'm showing it right here on the on the screen. This is my Space Pilot Pro, and of course I use a Space Pilot because it's so powerful to use geometry. Like, as you've watched me this morning, it doesn't really matter what geometry I'm working on. I'm able to get there really, really fast. Now I can do all of this with the mouse button. I'm the middle mouse and that kind of thing. Or I can hit F2 and pan, hit F3 and rotate, hit F4 and zoom in and out, you know, and I do all that. That's possible. But my preference is always to be able to just keep my hands here. And I'm really, go ahead. Somebody have a question?
Yeah, show us how that Space Pilot works. I mean, you know, how you move things around with it.
You know, I actually created a, I'll put it on my YouTube channel. I created it'd be hard for you to see, but I actually created a video, and just so that you can understand, I'm just going to hold it up so you can see it in front of my face. Basically what it is this center handle, you can see that, it's quite a heavy device. If I pull up, the part on the screen actually pulls up. So if I'm looking at this, and I don't know if you can still see the picture, if I pull this up, it pulls it up. If I push it down, pushes it down. If I rotate and twist it, it twists the part around. If I push it forward, it's tilted. So it very much is like flying an aircraft.
It's a pilot.
Like it really is like flying an aircraft. And the combination, folks, the combination of being able to, you know, use something like this where I say, oh, I'm going to reflect on this part and use the TriBall with all these tools. You know, I'm sitting back here and I'm changing geometry that's not my geometry and not even thinking about it. You know, I'm just thinking about how to design something, which makes it a huge difference. And it's very much like this. I do like this example and this, you know, the idea that my head's up. I'm concentrating on what's happening in my design, not, gosh, where does this, you know, I'm about to land the plane and, you know, how do I lower the flaps? You know, so it's all right in front of me. And that makes a huge difference when you're working. Go ahead. Any question?
This is Mike again. I have a need. I'm designing some circular devices that what I want to be able to do is just take a cylinder say an inch in diameter by an inch and a half tall, and put a rounded end on, the top and the bottom of the cylinder.
Okay.
Is there an easy way to do that?
There sure is. And if you have, is this, who's talking to me right now, just out of interest?
Mike?
Oh, Mike. Yeah. I'm running a 3-hour class tomorrow.
I'm signed up for it.
Oh, cool. Because if I were going to do it, there's a couple of ways I would do it. Okay. So, if I'm just looking at this and you said it's a 1-inch cylinder by 1.5 inches high, right? Something like that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And couple of ways you can do it. And
how do I control? I'm sorry, I wanted it a hollow cylinder.
Yes, you could do that. We actually even have shapes for that. So, in the advanced shape, there's, part of a cylinder or hollow shapes like this.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. But an inch and a half tall and an inch in diameter, and then with a rounded edge, where the rounded edge does not decrease at all the interior diameter. So it's rounded on the it's
Is it like a rounded end cap?
yeah. Well, I mean, I say that.
So kind of like, think about like a pill.
No. It's just
not like this.
I want like a torus around the top and bottom of it. So, and the torus is bigger in radius, or should I say, in the thickness of the torus, is bigger than the thickness of the cylinder itself or the pipe itself.
Let me just see something here, because again, I'm making it up as I go along, but some of the ideas that I would have would be something like this. If this is a rounded, if that's the round there, right?
No. It's still going to be flat across the top, except that edge is going to be thicker and rounded, but still high, and the inner diameter is not impinged in any way by the roundness of the edge. What I have done is I've attempted to put a torus on the upper and lower edges, where the diameter of the torus is a little larger than the diameter of the inner diameter of the cylinder, so that the inner diameter of the whole thing remains totally unobstructed and total. Yeah.
So you wanted.
Go ahead. If you get rid of that, the sphere up there on the top.
Okay.
And start with a pipe.
Bobby, is there any way to modify a fillet to do that?
Possibly, yeah. I'm trying to understand what it is that we're working on first.
Okay. Give me a pipe.
I can, but I might do it this way first. So is that going to look like that?
Yeah, but no. See, because that makes the internal diameter of the pipe smaller. I want.
No. I would do it this way.
Pipe.
I would do this, and I'd make it. Let me just come out. Oh, sorry. Let me do things right, because it's actually interesting. I love this. I love doing this. Let's just see real quick. Get rid of that. How big was this supposed to be? One inch.
An inch and a half in diameter, and I mean an inch and a half tall and an inch in diameter.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. So yeah, I'm going to get this right, just so I can keep doing it correctly. And again, this was supposed to come out to the outside edge, right? Like that?
No, further. In other words, the inner diameter of the torus should be equal to the outer diameter, to the inner diameter of the hollow cylinder.
See, what I was going to do to show you, just as an idea, was rather than do it the way you did it, I was going to say, I was going to take this pipe, and make that 7.5, so it's got a wall thickness. And then I can use that to create this.
And Yeah, not what I want. I want a thin-walled cylinder, hollow cylinder, in which I'm protecting the edges of it so they're not sharp by adding a torus. So the torus, will stick.
Oh, thank
Bobby,
you.
can I jump in for a second? Is that Mike Ramsey? Yeah. So if you have a tube, you want a full round on the top, is what you're asking for, correct?
Yeah.
You want a full fillet all the way around from the outer diameter to the inner diameter?
Well, no. I need additional thickness for the edge. In other words, if I just do a fillet on the edge, it's the thickness or the pipe is a thin wall thing, so it needs some protection. Now,
Can't you just extend the torus out?
well, that's what I was wondering, if that's the easiest way to do it. Is, if we make the torus bigger, and now just a simple fillet won't do it. It's gotta have that torus smack down on top of it.
You want to extend it past the cylinder wall.
You want a lollipop? Is that what you're after?
Well, I don't know about a lollipop.
Maybe you could, do you have a sketch or a drawing you could send?
Yeah, because that would be great.
Yeah, because I think we're
okay.
we're obviously missing what you're. Yeah,
okay, is this a cylinder or is that a pipe?
Oh, I'm doing it this way because I'm using this as a cylinder, and the reason is I want to make sure, I'm going to make it just so we don't get lost one by one, so I don't, 1 inch by 1 inch.
Okay.
And the question I was going to raise is how thick should this? How what are we actually looking at on this part? If it had a wall thickness, what would the wall thickness be?
30 thousandths.
That's what I wanted to know. Okay, so there's a, wait, what happened? Let me do that again. Edit this. By the way, I'm going back and saying I need to open up top and bottom. I'm doing it with the shell just so I don't have to mess around. And now this needs to be rounded on top.
No, now take a torus that's just slightly bigger in diameter than the inner diameter of this shell cylinder. Yeah, like that, but make it bigger in diameter. Make the wall thicknesses smaller. You're close there. You're close there. If you push it down a little bit so that the just lower it down a little bit more and make it a little bit bigger in diameter, and the torus itself smaller. Make it a real skinny donut. Right now, the donut is too.
You want the inside of the torus to be the same width as the cylinder.
Yeah. Okay, now just tighten it up a little bit there. No, that's too small.
I made it the same as the wall thickness.
No, it's got to be much bigger than that. That's what I'm trying to get around, is the thinness of the wall. I need the thinness of the wall I need it to be thin so it's flexible and all, but I don't want it 30 thousandths when you're looking at ABS or whatever. That can be pretty sharp. So what I'm trying to do is put a rounded edge on it.
And
the inside of the torus has to be the same size as the inside of the cylinder.
Yeah, so it doesn't obstruct in any way the cylindrical opening.
How do you make it? Like how do you actually make that part?
On a 3D printer.
Ah, gotcha. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, no, I see. Okay, yeah. You know what? I'd love to see. Can you send me a picture of what you're trying to do so I can actually, come back and look at it? Because I think, I know there's lots of ways to get there. This wasn't right, because
what you got there looks pretty decent. How do you make the torus fatter around? I mean, not the diameter, but the actual thickness of the torus. How do you change the thickness?
I always want you to know something really interesting about IronCAD, and this is what makes it really special. Did you know that every single, everything that you're seeing in IronCAD is actually, all of these are actually based on a sketch. So if you wanted to change this sketch as such, you have that ability at any time. So, whatever this was, I can make this bigger, small, like I'm making it way too big. You get my drift, right? We'll undo that. Okay, so I can actually change anything. And if you know what you want this to be, as I say, I would have the ability to change this, even to the extent of doing this. And I'm going to be silly here, though, and forgive me for just being a goof, but why not? I come in here and I'll say, okay, trim this of what I don't want away. I want this gone. I want this gone. I want this gone. What did you just do? Undo that. Oh, trim. Why are you moving? You're not allowed to move this. Why does that move? Anyone know that? It's weird.
I find IronCAD does funky things to me periodically.
Periodically, it's doing funky things to me too. I don't know why it would move this particular thing if I'm just.
Can you lock on that center point, Bob?
What's that?
Can you lock the center point of the diameter? We'll let you lock that.
It did, but let me just try trimming. I just want to trim away that. Yeah, I'm having, oh, my fault. Hang on for a sec. Hide all. I don't know what I'm picking on. Oh, let's get rid of that too. Has that got everything I need? Yeah, it's trim. Oh, I've got too much extra stuff here. Yeah, this may give me some horrible problems now. We'll see what it does. But no, it worked. See what I did? I just had extra geometry on there. I actually used this sketch to create this new shape. Can you see that?
Yeah, that's cool.
I'm saying you could get in there and actually draw whatever it is you want, and then you've got, you've got the answer.
Well,
cool?
that's pretty neat. Now, a question:
Sure.
If I want to open this up on one side, in other words, I want to just take, basically slice it top to bottom on one in one place, and that way, if I print it in a flexible material, I can just open it up. How can I slice that cylinder, that shelled cylinder, slice it vertically, so that it's now not a real cylinder? It's a cylinder minus a thousandth of an inch or 10 thousandths or 20 or whatever.
Oh, the easiest way, like really easy, would be to just, for me, it's just to use a shape. I would just take a block like this. Okay. This is just a silly, we're not being, we're placing a block, and I'm going to be really careful with this, where do I want it to go? This block now, and I'm just going to show it to you. I'm showing it to you in a silly way, but I think you're getting my drift. Sure. I would just take a block like this, make it exactly, whatever you want it to be, 0.050 or whatever the width is supposed to be, and I would do it exactly like that.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Because I'm just doing it easy. Now, thinking about it like boom, and now I've got these two parts that could be opened up.
Yeah. Now, but if I wanted to say rotate one of them so that the front, if I wanted just to rotate, say the half on the right, rotate around the center axis so that the opening is bigger. I don't want to get rid of material. I just want to rotate it. Can I do that with the TriBall?
I think so. I'm not, you know what? I'm not. Oh, let me just see if I can do all my fancy schmancy stuff. Yeah, we go. And I'm just being really sloppy though. Okay. I grabbed all those faces, right?
Okay. Now see if you can rotate them.
I turned the TriBall on. I'm going to put it back to the center point of, doesn't really matter where it goes, center point there. And, oh, I don't want it there. I actually.
No, I want it at a back edge, at the back edge.
Yeah, exactly. I'm being a little silly, but I should be able, can I do this just like that?
Yeah, that's what I wanted.
Yeah, sure. I just did direct face modeling. The same thing that I was teaching you in the webinar here. Exactly the same thing where I said this direct face modeling, this thing I did down here.
Yeah.
You know, that was exactly what I just did. I said, you know what? I don't want this to be, you know, all locked in. So now what I've done is just turn this into dumb geometry for me. That's what I did, and open it up. So
Now,
the answer is yeah, you can absolutely use the TriBall for that.
Now, if you were to remove or to make the block that is the H block that divides the two and divides them into two halves, remove it from the back seam, just by making the block smaller.
Of course,
I just want it to come back.
Of course, all of those. See, that's all of that. Now, you know, this idea that I do this, now I've closed it up again. You know, I have to have some opening there, but yes, there, you know, the idea that, and this doesn't have to be a block. This could be a wedge, if you will. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't have to be a block. It could be a thin wedge, and then I'm just opening up more in the front.
Okay.
Now, lots of ideas that you could do this with, and tomorrow is the day. If you're going to be available tomorrow, they're exactly the ideas that we're going to be working on tomorrow.
That sounds great. That sounds great. I appreciate it, Bob.
My pleasure. Well, thank you very much, and I appreciate everybody's attention. Have a marvelous day, and I'm going to call the webinar to a close. And thanks everybody for being part of it.
Thank you. One last question.
Sure.
What's the advantage of starting with a cylinder that you shell versus starting with a pipe?
Only because I didn't know the wall thickness of the pipe.
You what?
I didn't know the wall thickness.
Oh, okay.
You know, when I didn't want to, because when I went in here, this pipe, I didn't know how thick it was. Like I don't know what wall thickness they've used, so I needed to know.
Can you change the wall thickness that they've used?
Yeah, because I could do it this way, but it was like it's more work if I want to offset it, you know, that kind of thing. So, and I didn't know how, if I look at this original part here, you know, and I look at the IntelliShape, anytime you want to, you know, I go into the IntelliShape, they edit the cross section. Well, I can go into the cross section and figure out what they've done. I didn't really want to do that, you know, because I can come in and do this, and now I've changed it that way. I was just being super lazy.
Okay. All right.
It's sometimes, you know, if I'm sitting here not knowing exactly what you're wanting, to me, I like shelling, because if I know what this, if I know what the thickness here is, like I know exactly how much, there's no difference in it at all. It was just for me, shell let me say, I know this face is open, this face is open, and the pipe is going to be 30 thou. So I needed to know what that was. That was easy for me to do.
Yeah, I'm with you. All right. Well, I'll look forward to seeing you tomorrow.
All right, gents. Everybody have a great day. Thank you so much. Great meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.